about how you got involved in Creepshow.
Okay, so both of my long-term shows, I was on Man Eye Castle and Z Nation at the same time for several years, and they ended at the same time last year. And I took some time off, but I started reading things again, and I've been reading a bunch of garbage, and I planned a bunch of trips, and this is what always happens. Like, tumbleweeds are blowing across my living room and career, and then the day I plan to go out of town, I will get 4 job offers, and one of them I'll like. So I was supposed to leave. It was on a Tuesday. I was supposed to leave to New York on a Thursday, and I get this offer, and I'm like, oh, this must be terrible. They must have offered this to a bunch of people because it shot on Friday. So they offered it to me on Tuesday to travel the next day to have fit on Thursday and do some like makeup stuff, and then Friday to work. And I was like, this must be some bullshit. And this must have gone through it. And I started reading it, and I was like, this is really good. Who they offered this to? And they're like, they haven't offered it to anybody. They're just not organized. And also Greg was doing a million things. Like he directed my segment, and he's show running and producing and doing visual stuff. And so they were like, okay, we need to cast this because it shoots Friday. And I read it, and I don't know if you guys know what my segment's about, but I'm the only person in it. There's one guy who has one of the lines. So it's like 39 pages of solo dialogue delivered mostly to camera. And that's a lot of work, and it scared me. And so I was like, so I have to know all these pages of dialogue on Friday? And I was like, no, it's only like 12 or 15 pages on Friday. And I'm like, okay, can you send me the one-liner? The one-liner is the thing where they tell you what shoots when, so you know when you need to know what. So I read it, and I was like, I will tell you, I'll try to, if I can memorize this before I go to bed tonight, I'll fly out tomorrow and do this, because it's really well written. But I was totally scared. I hadn't done that in a long time, like had to memorize that kind of dialogue that quickly. Usually it's on super low budget stuff where they only have you for a few days. So like on Z Nation, I was shooting 30 pages on some days, but I used to use a teleprompter so much because they couldn't afford me. And I'm cheap, and there's some cheap bastards, but they couldn't help it. They didn't have any money either. But anyway, so I was able to memorize it because it's good storytelling. Like, things that aren't good storytelling or are grammatically incorrect are really hard to memorize. I can't do it, or it takes a long time. It's easier if you're in a scene with somebody because you get vocal cues, and I didn't have any of that. I'm talking to like this thing and the camera, but I was able to do it. And the only time I had a problem was on the last day. I had this monster 4-page scene with all these directly to camera and with all these really quick, extreme emotional turns. And
that's a great question.
And I knew it was going to be hard, but I memorized it and I rehearsed it, and I was on it. I had that shit down. But in my mind, the character was sitting on a chair, and I get onto the set, and he's sitting on the floor, and it fucking completely put me on tilt. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. My heart starts racing. I smoked a cigarette, which I haven't done in a very long time. Like, I was in a place. And sure enough, I get through the first part of it, and in my mind, my character has to stand up, and I had to scramble off the floor to my feet, and it wouldn't land, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, we're going to be able to take 39 unless you help me, Greg. You have to find a way to make this work. And we found this really easy fix. It's actory bullshit makes me laugh when other people do it, but when I do it, it's for real. Like, when I was on Fargo 2 years ago, like, the director is this great British guy who's like, I was like, darling, you know what? We can't double you. Can you please jump off this building? Just this once, please. And so I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm scared you'll break my ankles. And he's like, no, darling, you won't. Look, I'll do it. And he never did it. But one time I had to jump off a bus that was overturned onto, like, a pretty slick, we're shooting in Calgary in the wintertime, and my brain was so scrambled. It's a good 10-foot jump just on your feet, and so my brain was like, if I had on gloves, I feel like I could do this. Like, I just need the gloves. It's my crutch. They put gloves on me, and I was able to do it. And a good director is like psychologist, director. They sort of like, what's he doing? Like, come back to me. And Greg's really good at that. Also, like, he's a member of my tribe. Like, sometimes you'll meet people on set, and you're like, I know you. I'm supposed to know you. And it was really comfortable. This is the most fun I've had on something probably in, a good 5 years. One of my last shows, Man in High Castle. The idea was great, but it was a job, man. That show was a job to do. And also, the more money something has, the more people are involved with it, the more corporate-y it is. It felt like an office job, and everybody was. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that everybody was miserable.
So, just as a side question, last season of Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
Are you coming back?
Well, they have all these NDAs. You have to sign these non-disclosure things, and you have to sign it. I casually hinted that I was going back last season, and they got mad. Yeah, and here's the thing: it was the worst kept secret ever, because I think Jared told somebody, but if they do it, it's fine. If we do it, the world's coming to an end. But you know what? 15 years is an incredible amount of time for something to go. And when they offered me that years ago, I turned it down initially. It's a 7-year-old show, and on the CW, and it was 2 really handsome guys, and I was like, and I sent back a no thank you email, and I was like, I'm not going to be on something where I'm not just less handsome than the 2 leads, but like astonishingly so. Like, what's that going to look like? And and they were like, look. They wrote. Jared contacted me because I'd known him casually. He's like, they wrote this for you. Like, it's really nice if you came and play with us. And then on that trip, they introduced me to conventions, where you go and you hug people while they cry for 3 days, and they give you a wheelbarrow full of love. But you get trips out of it. And so we do like a summer tour. I'm doing a fall tour this year where you just go around Europe or wherever and meet the fans. It's so great because the cool thing about Comic-Con and Supernatural, it sort of collects people that feel marginalized in a way, like it's a bunch of broken toys. And I'm a broken toy, and so it's really kind of great because you get to share that kind of shit with people. And they're like, you like this because you're having problems walking. You have knee braces or whatever. You're in a wheelchair. I have this nose and these ears. We're all oddballs, and I like that. I like that about the show. It's sort of this great uniter, and it shows you to try to come from a place of yes as much as you possibly can, because it's so not about that job anymore. It's so about the experience around it. I loved it. It's one of the things that changed my life in the most profound way, honestly. That first episode of Supernatural. And it has nothing to do with my career, because it did nothing for my career. It did a lot for my heart, though. I'm stoked to have done it.
So we're seeing you more in horror. Are you a fan of horror?
I am. I got asked this really great question at my first table, and I never thought about this, but every single person that you've ever met has that horror moment that they saw as a child that fucked them up until they were adults, right? And I was just reliving it. Like, so my mother, I'm from the South, the rural South, and so your parents are not very much older than you are, so they think that you're their friend. So my mother took me to see Saturday Night Fever in the movie theater. She showed me Taps when I was little, a movie about boys getting blown up, getting shot by the military, and shooting each other. She took me to E.T., told my brother, who was younger than me, that I had a dentist appointment because she thought it was a horror movie. Like, she fucked me up. She showed me The Exorcist when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And there's a scene where the little girl's in a bathtub. I don't even really remember what scene that is, but I was afraid to take a bath until I was like 11 or 12. And so that's power. That's real power. And so I sort of lost my love for it. And, it's like horror when I was growing up, and probably until I was a teenager, was like, when you have a sore spot on your gum and you can't stop pushing it? Like, I live by myself, and I know if I watch a scary movie, even right now, at 41 years old, like, I am going to be nervous when I go to bed. Like, I take a knife from the kitchen and put it in my nightstand and lock my bedroom door. And I know I do. I've even walked out into I live in a loft, into the main living area and just pretended that somebody else. Oh, I didn't know you were there. Like that kind of stuff. And it's always when I watch scary shit, but I can't stay away from it. I just love it. I don't like Saw and that kind of stuff though, like gory stuff. I never like the sound of bones, like crushing or that kind of stuff, or sawing of bones. I have a thing with bones. I don't like it. But good horror. Do you know what I just fucking saw that was terrible though? Is it the Badonkadonk or something? Or Babadook? I hated it. Did y'all like that? Okay, I'm the only person in the world. I also didn't like Chinatown. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. It didn't pay off. I expected it to go somewhere. That's in Australia, right? I didn't like it. I would love one of those books though, but I didn't love it. What's the best horror movie in the recent past? What's been out recently that's really good? Oh, have y'all seen that new Annabelle movie? The new Annabelle? Yeah. Somebody said it was good. Is it good? My friend Alfrey was in the first one, and I went to the premiere of that. I actually really liked it. I don't know if I liked it because she was in it. I love jump scares. I saw The Nun. That was disappointing.
Well, what was your favorite? If you didn't, we're hearing some of the.
Oh, do you know what was awesome? The one where Kevin Bacon lives in that house. It's called. No. Kevin Bacon. Is it Kevin Bacon? He moves into a house, and then he finds these photos of the family hanging in the backyard. It's called. It starts with an I. Insidious. Is it Insidious?
Oh, it's not. Yeah, Insidious. Or Sinister.
Oh, Sinister. That was. I loved that movie. I like that. I like the things where you can't. I don't like to see monsters. Like I like the old sort of Hitchcockian way of looking at sort of the implied horror. I love jump scares. I love them. I love scaring people so much that I invite people to stay at my house and plan elaborate scares for them and then videotape them. But if you do it to me, we're gonna fight.
The episode you filmed for this, was that one of the Stephen King written ones?
No, David Shaw wrote it.
David Shaw?
He wrote it. It's actually based on a story that he wrote that's actually in the Creepshow comic. Is it the John Carpenter one? Yeah. It's in that. He gave it to me. That also was really cool. Like, so a couple of times I've played real people, and I just got offered to play a real person in this Marilyn Monroe biopic thing. I'm not sure I'm going to do it, but to be able to see a representation of something that came before you, like either a book or a graphic novel, is pretty fucking cool. And they gave it to me. David wrote this lovely inscription on that graphic novel and gave it to me. And it's really interesting to see what they envision the character looking like. It looks like everybody I'm related to back home in Tennessee. It looks like all my cousins. They're going to be stoked to see it.